Hello and welcome to another video in the How Do I Do Something in CloudBolt video series. My name is Mike Bombard and I'm a principal cloud architect here at CloudBolt. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how do I assign groups for discovered servers in CloudBolt. So in CloudBolt, by default, when you first connect to your cloud endpoints, we go out and discover the server-based resources that exist inside of your cloud accounts. This tutorial is going to walk you through how to set this up to auto-assign those servers. So by default, when we go out and pull those resources in, they are assigned to a special group called unassigned, which is only visible to your super administrators in CloudBolt to prevent users from being able to access resources that they shouldn't ever have permissions on. Out of the box behavior, you can go through and assign those resources to the appropriate groups, either one at a time or as part of a bulk action. But in this video, what we're going to do is take a look at how to automate that process. And we do it for this example by looking at this customer in particular has a set of resource pools in vCenter where we're able to glean the name of the group that these resources should belong to from the resource pool itself. So in the video, when we get into things, we're going to start by just covering the background, showing you what the use case looks like. Then we're going to build the plugin. Then we're going to show how to test the synchronization and ensure that things are working. So thanks for considering this video, and hopefully this is helpful. Okay, so we're going to take a look at importing or updating the way that CloudBolt handles its synchronization process with vCenter. And the big use case here is I have a customer that's working with vCloud Director today. They're looking to move away from it. And the way that vCloud Director tags things inside of vCenter for ownership or group ownership is the way that they do it is with resource pools. This typically corresponds to the beginning of the string, I believe ends up being the tenant name. So basically what we want to do is pull those VCD tenants from the resource pool and assign any machines that belong in this resource pool, assign them to a corresponding group inside of CloudBolt. So in my example, I have something just called IT. I have an IT group inside of my CloudBolt instance. So this IT group, they are going to have 4 different servers under here. So 11, 15, 16, 17. You'll notice when I come over to CloudBolt, these servers are already discovered in my inventory. However, these servers do not have a group currently assigned. So that's really the big thing that we're trying to impact here. I'm sure there's a couple of other things we'll unpack as we go through this. Yeah, so I had the basic kind of demo set up. So VMs in a resource pool named the way that I want it to be named. And again, the big idea here is at the end of the day, I want the VMs from this resource pool, which is a lowercase IT, to go into my uppercase IT group. So we'll take a look at how to get that working. And this is going to be case insensitive. If I recall correctly, the tenant in VCD, I think it automatically lowercase things, but you can tweak the code as we get things over to you if you need. If you don't want this to be case insensitive, you can take and modify things as needed. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and jump over. I already created a basic script for this. The only thing I've done in this script is taken and written a description for it. I did copy this. I was doing some synchronization work with OpenStack a couple of weeks ago. So I think this is a good jumping off point. I'll probably be stealing bits of code from other things that I've done in the past. I think I have a video for syncing expiration date or extra IPs, one of those as well. So I'm going to be stealing pieces of code from there just to basically talk to PyVMomi. So the ability to communicate to vCenter, find out what resource pool is in is really the big thing we want to get to. Yeah, so that's kind of the background here. Again, haven't done a ton of other things here with this other than I want to go through and figure out, basically this is going to end up being an orchestration action. We'll set that up last. I don't really care about it yet until the script is working. We've been able to test it and validate that it functions. A lot of the things I'm doing in here, I also have as part of the developer setup videos that we have in our How Do I video series, so you can reference those as well. Okay, so we're getting down to the run method. This is our insertion point for any automation that we're doing inside of CloudBolt, or most automation we're doing in CloudBolt. The first thing that I'm going to want to do, I'm going to update this just a little bit. And I'm going to do get all active VMware servers in the unassigned group, right? So it's taking that from my description up top. So I can check a VMware VMs to sync group from resource pool. It's just beyond the length I want for a line, so I'll extend that down a little bit. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is go out and get the servers, and I'm going to test this here in just a minute, but I am going to launch into Shell Plus, which is our interactive database browser. This only works on my system because I have a shortcut there. Again, that developer setup video will walk you through all of these steps. But once that loads, I'm going to change this real quick. I believe this is just VMware, but we'll find out in a second. We do only want active servers. We don't care about servers that are already archived or currently provisioning. And then owner is null. How about we do group is... Actually, group, I think we need to do group name. I for case insensitive equals, let's see what this looks like. So I'm just going to take and copy this, put it into Shell Plus and see if we get a result. Support a lookup I equals for, so that's, so I think what we may need to do, so I think we need to do group name. It's actually, I forgot what I'm doing. I'm trying to get all of the unassigned servers. I don't want to do that. Okay, so now I have servers. Make sure I don't have any servers. So what I suspect is I probably grabbed the wrong name for our resource technology name for VMware. I have to do this every time I do this, I feel. So I'm going to go back over. It's the wrong window. We already have a window open. What are you looking at? There we go. So the groups inside of CloudBolt, let's actually look for servers first. I'm going to get a vSphere server. So one of the ones in question is ID 23768. I'm going to store that in Shell Plus. So now we have our server, and I can do server.resource handler.resource technology.name. And that's the issue. It wasn't VMware vCenter. So we're going to just update that here. And you'll notice here when I'm doing these Django queries, double underscores equate to the periods here in the statement. And this works with most of what we do, not necessarily everything. And then I also need to update this piece. Let's try this one more time as a complete call. Perfect. So now we have a bunch of servers that are in that unassigned group. Okay, so that's the first thing we want to do. And we don't want to go through and find servers that aren't in unassigned. That's really the only thing. This is like the onboarding group for CloudBolt, so things that don't already exist. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start looping through each of those servers, and the rest of this can kind of get deleted out of here because it's all OpenStack specific. But now that we have those servers, I don't need to get group from owner. I don't need to get anything from OpenStack. I don't need to get owner from email. So just trimming this back, see most of what this is. I had a couple of imports here, one for logging, one to import that server model, and one set progress is more logging. I can get rid of my import for user here. There we go. Now it's a fairly clean, fresh slate. All right. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a, now, I don't know that that's the right call. And I go through this every time. GitHub Copilot hallucinates a little bit with PyVMomi. I'm going to go back over to my get VM's expiration date, because the first thing I need to do is get the virtual machine that we have. So, okay, so that's very, very similar. I know that this gets the virtual machine. So let's just copy and reuse this. I probably should be using shared modules for this so that I'm not repeating code, but I don't have time to do that right this minute. I am going to copy this. I'm going to paste this entire method into Shell Plus. Now I have it stored. And what I can do, because I have my server already, is I can do get _ VC VM from server. I can pass in the server that I've already stored and the search index I don't have. So I do need to go back and get that. Where did I get the search index from? There we go. So PyVMomi. Wrapper from the vCenter. So that's interesting. This is a little different. Sorry, I should have started with vCenter in the first place. Now that I'm looking at this. So basically what's happening here, you know what? I think that there's multiple ways to do this. Number one, I could go out to the vCenter in question and loop through every vCenter that we have, and then find all of the virtual machines in that vCenter and assign them to the groups. I actually think this is probably a better way. And the big reason is I'm only then, for each vCenter, I'm only setting my search index for the vCenter once. I'm not constantly resetting that search index. Whereas in the way that I'm approaching it right now, I will get all of my servers, but what I'm going to need to do is for each server, I'm going to have to go back, find the corresponding resource handler, go back, get the search index for it, and then search for the server. So that's not really an efficient way to code this. And I'm thanking my past self for recognizing that. So we're going to handle this a little bit differently. We're going to, my run method, not necessarily going to do that exactly the way. I'm going to leave that log statement there, but in place of this, I need to import my vSphere resource handler. So I'm getting all of the matching vSphere resource handlers, and we can validate that just by copying this down below. I have 3 or 4 in here. So it makes a difference when you're working in larger environments to loop through this a little more, or just think through how you're doing your automation here. I'm going to tab this over. Servers. So we're going to go through and get all of the servers. This is going to be a little different. So I have 2 calls here. I just need to merge the 2. I don't need to exclude based on expiration date. I'm going to leave that in here. Server.active, I already have. Resourcing, I don't need to filter on resource handler anymore because I'm filtering on a specific vCenter ID. And now what I'm doing is I'm still looking at that unassigned group. So we're going to test, make sure this works. We have VCS. I'm just going to set VC. Let's do this. I don't know what number the vCenter I care about is. I think it's the last one. So I'm going to do VC equals VCS, and it's the 3rd item in the array. So it's a 0 indexed. So VC, now I have my CB Lab sales net vCenter. So what I can do is I can then filter my servers based off of that information. And I should have, there we go. We see the servers that are in question already at the top of the list. So still working. We now have a list of servers, so and then we can go through and first of all, let's set our PyVMomi information. We need to get the search index. And then for server and servers, we're going to go through, we need to get the VCVM. Let's see. I'm going to trust Copilot here. And I don't know that I necessarily care for that. Let's see what it puts in there. Could be wrong. Probably is. Okay, so we have our search index. First thing that I needed to do, I knew that I needed to get my server. So get VCVM from server, and we didn't test that yet. So let's go through and get a wrapper on this. So PyVMomi wrapper. Actually, we can just copy the comments and everything. Doesn't really matter. No, Shell Plus doesn't like the extra indentation. Okay, so now we should have our search index, and I should be able to go out and get my VCVM because we still have that server saved in my history. There we go. Let's just make sure. Yep, that's the server we're looking for. So now we're actually in PyVMomi and we're looking through the statistics for this. So actually it shows here that VM might have a resource pool attribute tied to it. So let's try it. Perfect. I love it. That's way easier than I was expecting this to be. So we have our resource pool, and then we need the resource pool name. Okay, IT-random string. So that's a start. So we have our resource pool. We have VCVM resource pool.name. And there are, I love GitHub Copilot most days. But it went through based off of the comments that I wrote. I did a good description when I was building out this plugin. It took most of that logic into play here. So if it can't find a resource pool, we just want to move to the next server in the loop. If it can't find the VCVM, we move to the next server in the loop. We don't necessarily want to do anything more. I don't even really care about logging if we can't find a resource pool for the server. So that's fine. Not a big deal. And it will throw some of those logs. Oh, never mind. I lied. It is logging. That's why it says logger.debug. It's okay to leave those in there. It might be a little noisy. We can whittle that back down at some point. Group name now. So notice my group name. Let's just see what we're getting for group name. So we're just kind of stepping through this entire thing. I didn't set my resource pool yet. So let's do that. Group name. Okay, let's check our group name. We have IT, which is exactly what we're looking for. And then what we're doing is we're trying to get, I don't have my group imported yet. So PyVMomi is just telling me about that. Okay, so our group's now imported up top. We should be able to now, oh, perfect. It did it for me. iExact. This is a case insensitive match on the group name. So let's see if we get our IT group. Perfect. The one thing that I do want to, I don't want to just catch every exception here where we can't find the group name. I want to make this a little more intelligent because what could happen is we could have two groups that match the same name. So I'm going to look to see, let's do, I just want to see what the error is that this is going to throw when I get more. So in Django, basically what we're doing is we're saying we have a group model. This model, if I can stop messing up my script, this model has certain objects, and on that objects class, we have a method called get. This get method will throw an error or raise an error if there is more than one object returned based off of our filter. So I just need to figure out what that is that it's trying to throw. I'm going to go ahead and actually, I don't know why I didn't just copy this in the first place, but let's do it. And let's just do, I think I starts with works. And I'm just going to give it a single character. And eventually, it doesn't work right away. Yeah. We will find something that has two groups. Okay, group mapping query does not exist. So does not exist is one of the things that we may run into. Let's do, there we go. Group does not exist. That I'm okay with skipping. And then let's find that other condition we're looking for. There we go. So group return more than one group, it returned two. So multiple objects returned is the other one I want to look for. And I want to make this a little more evident. So let's do another except statement on group of multiple objects returned. Instead of debug though, I want to raise an error. I want this to be a little more evident. Maybe not an error, but a warning. So this is a little bit more of an immediate thing. We should be looking at this. I did not start. So let's also say, I'm going to put another log statement, logger.info. I want to know what server we're working on. Yep, perfect. So now we know the server. So as we're looking at our log events, the first event should be that, hey, we're working with a new server, so we know which one that we're talking to. Okay, so now let's make sure I have my case insensitive group name. So I have the group. I believe so. I think I already have the group object. So here's my group object. The last thing I need to do is server.group equals group. So I'm setting the group at the server, and then anything that you change on a model in CloudBolt, you have to then save. So that's the very last step. That's actually was a lot quicker than I thought this would be. So about 18 minutes from start to finish, and I would talk too much. Anyway, it's going to then log the group for the server. So it's going to tell us when it continues. I think we're just about ready to at least test this out from CloudBolt. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. This is stored on my CloudBolt system, so I need to do a couple of things. First, I need to create a new orchestration action in CloudBolt. So I'm going to do this because this has to do with our sync VMs. I want it to happen at the post-sync VMs point, meaning we go out to discover things in vCenter. The next thing we're going to do is run this script, and I'm going to disable this OpenStack example. CloudBolt plugin, new CloudBolt plugin. I'm going to call this assign vCenter group from resource pool. Okay, so that's the name for my orchestration action that I'm creating. I don't necessarily need this plugin to be shared that I'm making. This is the only place I'll ever use it. I'm fairly confident of that. And then I'm going to do fetch from URL. So I have this file saved on my file system. And I don't recall the exact path. It is under vCenter, and then I'm going to go to rename that so I can copy it. Let's see if that works. I'm going to copy that just in case it does fail. Let's see. Just thinking about my orchestration action. Looks like it worked. But it has an issue. Let's see. Will fail until all required inputs. I didn't think I had any inputs on it. Lease date. Oh, okay. So I missed a piece of code in there. So I'm going to go back over to my script. You know what? I pointed at the wrong file. I pointed at the old file. I need to update this. So I just copied the wrong thing. Like lease date. I didn't tell you about a lease date. Let's cancel that. Go back over. I'm going to keep this the same, but I'm going to go back to my plugin. I just need to retarget my plugin at the right file. So we're going to edit this. Instead of postsync VMs expiration date, we're going to do postsync VMs resource pool groups. There we go. That looks a little better. So we're looping through. So now we have, and there shouldn't be an exclamation point on that orchestration action now because there are no inputs that are required. And here we go. So assign vCenter group from resource pool. I'm going to, did I filter this one? I just want to take a look at this real quick. I think you can filter these on resource handler as well. Yeah, so I'm going to filter that too. So I think that's a good practice. I don't need this to run unless we're running a sync from vCenter. So we don't care if AWS is syncing VMs because even though this won't impact them, it's going to take up more time in the system. So I'm going to throw an execution filter on this CloudBolt plugin, and that execution filter should prevent it from running under any other conditions. So let's do resource technologies and VMware vCenter. Save. So the power of CloudBolt plugins, you can execute them in multiple different contexts. Once this is done, I'm going to go through and kick off my orchestration action. Okay, so let's go over to, there's a couple of ways I could sync this. I'm just going to go directly to the resource handler in question. I think that should be fine, but this will run after any of these go. Let's go through servers, and then I can sync VMs from vCenter. And this should be enough to kick off that inventory job. We'll find out in just a second whether it is or not. And I think it shows on the right as a sub job after it's run through the inventory process. There we go, just about done. Last server. Okay, post-sync VMs trigger point. That's what we're looking for. Assign vCenter group from resource pool. Oh, look at that. Set group for server to IT. So we're getting our groups. The one thing I'm noticing, this is a lowercase name, so I'm just going to fix that real quick. Real quick minor fix, but I think we're done here. Let's go. So what we logged out was a group name, but instead I want to log out group.name. So that's going to show uppercase IT versus lowercase it, because we have the group object. We're then referencing the group name from the object. So save all. I'm going to just validate one last time, because anytime I make small changes like that I don't think are going to impact, and let's just see in the UI, make sure that's reflecting now. There we go. So those 4 servers now are part of the IT group. I'm actually going to assign them back out of the IT group. I'll just pause this real quick. It takes a second to go through that. Actually, I'll point out real quick, balk action. So I selected all 4 of these and then I hit the gear. From here, I can change attributes. Go next. And then from the bulk change, I can go through, find my unassigned group, just push everything back to unassigned. Wait for things to update. All right, so they're all back to unassigned now, which should be okay. So unassigned group, there are no environments assigned. You could also assign your environments as part of this process. So if you wanted to go out to the resource handler and find the cluster that it's mapped to and find the first valid environment, you absolutely could. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but back to unassigned, we're just going to run our sync one more time from our vCenter and validate things are good to go. Then we should be moving on. All right, so server sync VMs from vCenter. Just kick that job up and pause for a second while it runs. Okay, all VMs synchronized. Just scroll down to the bottom. Again, all 4 were set to the IT group, and we should be able to refresh our screen. Actually, I may have refreshed. Let's see. I don't, you know what? I didn't have my filter on there. -dev, we'll just filter it. Multiple places to view this. There we go. All 4 of those servers are now assigned back to the IT group, and we'll check what we went to fix. There we go. Our log is now showing uppercase IT. So this is, again, just in summary, it will go out and find any servers that show up in an unassigned group. This is still an older page. I haven't refreshed this yet. So they still show unassigned. And it will go out to vCenter to see, does that server exist in a resource pool? If it does, it's going to attempt to split the resource pool name to take anything before the first hyphen. Let me just double check that. I did not look too closely at that. Yeah, so it's going to split on the hyphen, and it's going to take the very first result. So that's going to be the left side of that first hyphen. So from the left side of the first hyphen, it will take and return the name of the group that we should be expecting. What it does then is looks for the group, the correct group object in CloudBolt, and assigns the server to the group. So this should be hopefully a good example to help you get started with working with resource pool assignment with a sync VMs action in CloudBolt. This concludes another video in the How Do I Do Something in CloudBolt video series. If you've made it this far, congratulations. Some of these can get to be a little bit lengthy. If you have any questions at all regarding anything that we've covered today, or really just anything about CloudBolt in general, please reach out to your account team. We're happy to cover any questions you may have. And we're always looking for additional ideas to cover as part of this series. So please reach out to your account team. Let us know how we can help you. And happy automating with CloudBolt.